Hi there, and welcome to your first lesson here on the Strategic Wealth Network. This is Brandy Jo Newman, and I will be guiding you through lesson number 1, Understanding Your Personal Economy. This module will cover all the important aspects of your personal economy, and basically we're going to talk about how your personal economy is currently configured and what you can do today to make it run more effectively. Now, this first module will only take about 20 minutes, and you have access to the full transcript and slides so you can print everything out and take notes as we go along. And let me take a second to let you know that you have total control of all the learning module videos, so you can pause, rewind, and watch these as much as you like, as long as your membership is active. So let's get started with understanding your personal economy. First off, let's talk about what your personal economy actually is and what it's supposed to do. Your personal economy is really your entire household. It's your family, whether they help bring in an income or not, or anyone else that you support financially. This could be your parents or your grandparents that you're helping get through retirement, or it could be a niece or a nephew that you're helping get through college or school. But don't forget your charities and especially your churches. These are important as well and should be included in your personal economy. Also included is your hard and liquid assets that you own personally. These could be cash, your home, any equipment you might own personally but lease back to your business. This includes precious metals that you own personally, art that you and your spouse or you and some partners own personally. This also includes all of your debts, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And yes, there are some good debts out there, which we'll talk about later on. And more importantly, your personal economy is how it is fueled. Whether your income is derived from W-2 income as an employee or from a business you own in the form of 1099 income, but some of us actually have K-1 income, which is from a trust or family partnership. Now let's talk about how your personal economy is running. Is it running smoothly and growing at a nice pace that you consider successful? Of course, your personal economy runs and exists on cash flow from your job or your business or other assets, but here's the real question. Where is your cash flowing? Are you able to capture most of it, or are you suffering from what we like to call wealth transfers? With what little you can capture, are you able to deploy that capital quickly into other opportunities? In other words, do you have access to your savings or capital reserves without any penalties or lost opportunity cost or loss of time? Do you have the use and control over that capital, or does someone else? Minimizing wealth transfers and helping you take control of your own capital is the foundation of what you will learn here on the Strategic Wealth Network. Wealth transfers are the most common issue when building wealth and having liquidity. I want you to keep that in mind. Now let's take a 50,000-foot view of your personal economy. Let's see where some of the cash flow losses happen without the use of some of our strategies. So you have an income from whatever source, hopefully multiple sources, and usually the first wealth transfer that happens before you see a dime is gone to the government, whether this is on a paycheck-to-paycheck basis or quarterly or annually. Part of your valuable income is paid to the government, and 95% of us, business owners that is, are overpaying our fair share by simply not being knowledgeable in the ways of the tax code. So what does that mean for you? That means you need to find someone, and we have someone here on SWN to give you that knowledge and to hold your hand and guide you through, what is it now, like 60-something thousand pages of tax code? It's ridiculous. So after the government swipes away its part of your income, roughly 35% of your current cash flow is obligated to debt service. Now this isn't everyone, but on average 35% of every dollar is obligated to debt, which means that you have obligated a portion of your future income or revenue or whatever to service and pay back that debt. Not only is it a lost opportunity cost on the use of that money, but what about the interest charges? Those are huge wealth transfers right there. This is how many of us lose sight or fall behind in our wealth creation process. Now, the next part of our personal economy where we lose most of our income or most of our wealth is our current lifestyle. And it's not what you're spending your money on, it's how you're spending your money. So let's take a look at major purchases such as vacations and weddings and personal business investments, just to name a few. Now, I'm not talking about spending habits or blowing money on frivolous things. You wouldn't be a member of the Strategic Wealth Network if you did this. I'm talking about how you spend or deploy your capital. And if you've watched Sean's Reserve Capital Strategy video, you understand that I'm talking about the debtor, the saver, and the wealth creator. Now, which one are you? Hopefully, by being a member here at the Strategic Wealth Network, you're becoming a wealth creator. And the last place that we would ever think we are transferring our wealth is the future, the uncertain future that we are all living in right now. How much capital do we need for future investments and obligations? Think about retirement. Think about long-term care. It's an uncertain world in an uncertain economy. What will inflation be tomorrow, next year, 10 years from now? All of these issues come down to one category, and that is they are all wealth transfers. And there is little we can do once they actually happen. We want to get more of your cash flow working for you today rather than losing it to inflation or the government or lost opportunity costs like interest charges. So what we want to do, we want to lay a foundation by implementing the reserve capital strategy so that you can have more of your cash flow working for you today, but also have the control and the liquidity. With the reserve capital strategy, you're creating pools of reserves for investments, major purchases, all while maintaining control and liquidity for other opportunities that come along. Then, after that, you must build upon that foundation by freeing up more of your liquidity. And talking with Jason Schmidt at Easy IRA Solutions and jailbreaking your IRA, your hard-earned dollars that you put away for tax deferral shouldn't just be sitting in an account for someone else's benefit. Being able to purchase real estate, gold, silver, invest in businesses, using your IRA dollars gives you more opportunities to create more wealth. Now, the next layer of wealth and income is strategic partnerships with experts like Jeff Ballard. He can find the opportunities in the market that are just not available to people out on the street. They're not going to advertise them in the Wall Street Journal. You have to be in the know, and Jeff Ballard is a guy that's in the know. And I don't need to mention you need someone on your side with dealing with the IRS. Doug Richardson is our tax strategist, and he has incredible innovative ideas on tax structuring and deductions that many of us, including me, have never even heard of. Now, these are the people you need in your corner to combat the evil forces that are against you. Evil forces like tax code and the tax code changes, the IRS. Do they want you to enjoy the bulk of your money? Absolutely not. Every year the tax code changes, and we need to spend countless hours getting up to speed on what we need to do in order to overcome the changes. Take Obamacare, for instance. So during the last year, I've estimated at least 60 hours of non-productive time devoted to deciphering my tax consequence given this beast of a healthcare tax. And I put tax in quotations. So that's 60 hours that I did not spend generating wealth, generating revenue for my business, securing my family's future. That's 60 hours that's just gone. I can't get it back. Another evil force against us is information. Sometimes it just comes in noise or static, but we need to educate ourselves and be knowledgeable about the tax consequences we face every year. And time. Time is a huge factor. Time is really all we have, and we can't get more of it. We only have one compounding growth curve. Now think about that. We only have enough, well, not enough. We only have time in order to compound. And that's really the secret to wealth, is compounding our money. Many of us unknowingly reset our compounding curve several times throughout our lifetime. So what if we only had, and we only have one, but what if we started and we never reset, we never went back to zero? That would make the wealth creation process a little bit easier to understand, I think. Now, one of the biggest forces is inflation. Inflation is in check right now, according to the Federal Reserve, and I hate to even say their name. But what that really means is that inflation is coming, and it will probably happen sometime in the next 5 years. Consumer sentiment is a bit more positive these days. And with all the stock market indices being at all-time highs, along with the Fed's 24-hour printing press, there is no doubt in my mind that inflation will be a factor in the very near future. It is not a matter of if, but when. And here's my favorite. One of the biggest forces against us as mere investment mortals is stock market manipulation. This is one of the biggest killers of wealth creation out there. Now, if you've read my blog, you know that I'm not a big fan of Wall Street. With these high frequency trading computers and transparency not being important and integrity not being a priority for most Wall Street pros, I'm not at all comfortable with putting my hard-earned capital in the hands of people that are so susceptible to corruption. And like we've witnessed from Wall Street in the past several years, I'm just not into it. So here's a big one with a great example. Company adjustment to sponsored plans. Now, what I'm talking about here is your 401k. So a few years ago, IBM decided that they were going to stop matching on every pay cycle. They instead, and this is pretty hilarious, they instead elected to match with a lump sum on December 31st of every year. But here's the catch. The best part about this deal for IBM is that if any employee for any reason left the company prior to December 15th, then they're totally out of luck for the match on December 31. No excuses. No reasoning, no excuses, doesn't matter. Now, I don't know about you, but that does not motivate me to stay an IBMer. Here's another one that we're susceptible to. Company adjustments to life insurance policies. Now, the policies that I'm talking about are variable universal life, indexed, equity index universal life is what they're calling it these days. These adjustments that I'm talking about, they're not for the benefit of we, the policy holder. These adjustments are made by the company in order to keep the policies in force and for the company to continue turning a profit. They can constantly adjust the mechanics of the policy by either reducing your death benefit or increasing your cost of insurance. When you are dealing with a universal life policy, I always say all bets are off. Take your chances. Swim at your own risk. There is no lifeguard on duty when you have one of these policies. When you have some of your capital flowing into a universal life policy, you are giving up control, and that's all we teach here at Strategic Wealth Network. These UL policies can be complicated to manage and costly for you and your family. Now, you may think that they're permanent life insurance policies, but they're not. They're only semi-permanent. And when you compare a universal policy to a dividend-paying whole life insurance policy, there is no comparison. You might need more premium to continue the death benefit in a universal life policy, or you may lose the majority of your cash value because the company needs it to pay for the cost of insurance. It's a complicated financial instrument that really doesn't have a place in anyone's personal economy if you are relatively healthy or not over the age of 70 or 75. So please, 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 if you have a universal life policy and you feel it's not performing as expected or even worse, I want you to take a minute and email your member advocate and ask for a review of your policy. Your member advocate will be asking you for an in-force illustration. So go to your company's website or call the toll-free customer service line to your life insurance company and ask them to send you an in-force illustration, preferably in a PDF. That's Adobe PDF or something that you can scan and attach to your email. And your member advocate will forward it to me, and I can take a look at it and let you know what your options are, whether it is performing up to its maximum, which is what we teach here. But in some instances, you might want to exchange it for a reserve capital policy. You can start your reserve capital account with just a few signatures and some documents, of course. I encourage you to do this as part of your Strategic Wealth Network membership. We are here to help you and to figure it all out. And last but not certainly least is mindset. This may be a little touchy-feely for some of you, but it's true that having a positive mindset or outlook can deliver a successful outcome. Let's talk about Larry Dossey for a minute. Larry Dossey is a doctor from Dallas, and he experimented with prayer in his laboratory. I didn't read his book, but when I read he's got some articles online, and I read a blog about him, and I also have seen some interviews with him, is that the bacteria that were not prayed for didn't grow or realize their full potential. And that's really all prayer is, right? It's a positive metaphysical direction towards someone or something. Some call it meditating or mantras or whatever. I'm not saying throw pragmatism completely out the window, but staying positive and optimistic does have its merits, and guess what? It's been proven in a scientific experiment. Now let's move on, and I want to talk about my entire financial philosophy and what it's based on. The best offense is a good defense. This is what I teach all of my clients. This is the baseline. This is your foundation. Again, this is the reason that you're going to be able to do some of the things that you want to do and create the wealth that you think you deserve. We need a balanced protection for our entire personal economy at all times. Now, not too much that we tie up too much cash flow, and not too little that we leave ourselves open to loss that could have been prevented with just some strategic coverage. You want coverage for your entire personal economy. Next is we need to educate and become knowledgeable about some of these things that are going on in the market. Now, I'm not saying we can know everything and be on the inside track of every loophole and crevasse of central planning, but we can know enough to protect ourselves from these destructive government policies and this Wall Street manipulation that's going on. And probably the most important is personal responsibility, taking personal responsibility for our own financial lives. We need to make decisions based on our own intelligence, not someone else. We don't want to leave it up to someone else like your financial advisor or your broker. That's what I consider to be called financial ignorance. Well, my broker told me so, or my advisor said that this was good. That's no excuse. You need to figure it out for yourselves. You know that the answers are out there, but sometimes you fall a little short of really figuring it out for yourself. And thankfully, you have joined the Strategic Wealth Network to do just that. And you might have missed this before, but I'll say it again. Cash flow. Cash flow is what is king in today's economic climate. Now notice that I'm not saying money. I'm saying cash flow. And not just any cash flow. We need positive cash flow that you control and that you can leverage throughout your entire personal economy. And by the way, did I mention cash flow? Okay, so all of this combined leads us to the new economy. We need to transition ourselves into the new economy. So what is this new economy? This is where you begin to acquire productive assets that generate, again, cash flow and avoid the stagnating practices of Wall Street and the government. In this new economy, you're going to learn to build multiple streams of income in many different markets and keep more of your cash flow working for you. But it's not just about creating more cash flow or creating velocity of money. Instead, it's really about not losing it along the way from wealth transfers, taxes, or fees, or just plain financial ignorance, as I mentioned before. You will be creating double-duty dollars, leveraging talent and resources, and layering of assets on top of one another in order to have a balanced personal economy. Now let's talk about harnessing this new economy. Not only does the new economy require a new thinking, but it would also require a reset or a restart to your old personal economy. We need to create passive cash flow, and we need to stop exchanging our time for money. This is just not the most efficient way to create the level of wealth you think you deserve. We need to eliminate the drag on our cash flow, and that means extinguishing bad debts like cars and revolving interest accounts. This means you need to depend on your reserve capital accounts to make major purchases and capital investments for your businesses. We need to avoid spending the wrong way. If you accomplish this, then you will have liquidity, and that automatically creates opportunity. He who has the gold makes the rules. And in this way, you can dictate where you invest and how you invest. Once you have capitalized your reserve capital accounts, then you will have no need for traditional OPM or other people's money. But remember, opportunity doesn't hang around for you to figure things out and analyze and overanalyze and analyze some more. Many of the opportunities available on the Strategic Wealth Network are limited, which means When we have the minimum investment needed to acquire a business or another productive asset, then we move on to the next deal. And some people get left behind. So let's review what our personal economy actually is. From this module, hopefully you have learned that your personal economy is much more than just your income and assets. How your personal economy is configured and how you are deploying your capital is much more important than your choices of investments and opportunities. We need to work on investing efficiently and effectively rather than a blind, following the blind model of investing or capital improvement. Taking control, and that starts with the foundation of your personal economy, which is implementing the reserve capital strategy. Relying on your chosen experts here at the Strategic Wealth Network, but being able to think for yourself. You need to use your logic and common sense, and I swear, you will be successful in everything you do. Just go with your gut. And the biggest, most important point of this module is to embrace the new economy. Please remember, to get what you've never had, you have got to do what you have never done.